Greetings to everyone. I hope you can hear me well and you can see me. Nice. Dear colleagues, first of all, I would like to say that we have a live broadcast for
Greetings to everyone.
Voice of You can hear me well and you can see me. For tens of thousands of people, dear colleagues, first of all, who can listen to us, who can support our discussion. First of all, thank you for taking part, for taking the time for this meeting. I really appreciate it. And let me say that today we have distinguished guests, representatives of the United States, the United Kingdom, Ukraine, and most importantly, the leaders of the nations currently struggling for their freedom within Iran. My name is Bogdan Vorontsov, and I represent the House of Freedom NGO. It's the international wing of the Free Nation civil movement. And I would like to show you behind me, in House of Freedom, we brought together the enslaved people of different nations. It's one nation, it's Bashkortostan, Balochistan, Buryatia, Ichkeria, Crimean Tatars, South Azerbaijan, Eastern Turkestan, Sakha, Tatarstan, Circassians, Ingria, Caspian, Eastern Kurdish, Free Dagestan, and Baltic Republic. So, as you see, a lot of enslaved nations that we brought together to the House of Freedom. And our mission is to simple but so profound, to consolidate and support those who fight for their liberty and independence. We believe that in the 21st century, there is no place for enslaved nations or ethnic, religious, or cultural identity. The right to self-determination is not a privilege, but it's a fundamental human right. To achieve this goal, we must bridge the gap between your struggle and the global political stage. The world needs to hear your voice. That is why today we have gathered such a significant circle of supporters. Your struggle is no longer isolated. In an era where the regime in Tehran exports terror and weapons used against my country, Ukraine, our fates are interconnected. A blow to tyranny in Iran is a victory for democracy in Europe. Ukraine provides a vital example for all of you. When your survival and freedom were at stake, we choose to unite. We put aside our political parties, our different ideologies, and our personal disagreements to stand as one. My message to all leaders who are here today with us, to Belarus, to Kurdish, to other nations, unite is your most powerful weapons. And I know that you are seeking for independence, and you must prove that you are ready to govern. I strongly urge you to move towards the creation of parliaments in exile and transitional governments. So let us begin this dialogue and let us turn the hope of freedom into the reality of independence. And first of all, I would like to ask you all, leaders, Iranian enslaved nations in Iran, to write your contacts below to the chat in order, to cooperate with all of you, in order, to bring all us together and to unite all of us. And first of all, I would like to provide a word, to give a floor to the Honorable President of the House of Freedom, Elhan Nuriyev. Ilhan. Dmitro, I will
Assalamualaikum. We're sitting here in Kiev, and as most of you, we are concerned about Iran in its current state because it is an aggressive state which helps Russia in its aggression against the Ukraine and will help any terrorist regime in the world. Thanks for inviting me and my friends here who will talk in the end of the event. It is very important to tell about real situation which is happening in Iran because all the media is shut down there to not let any information out of the country. And it is important to understand in which phase the regime is right now and what we can do to advance our interests there.
Thank you, dear Ilhan. Thank you for your speech. Let me go on and to give a floor to a friend of Ukraine, a very big friend of Ukraine, who came to Ukraine and who supports Ukraine and who today with us, Mr. Roland Roberts, who is the board member of Free Nation Civil Movement, also as he is the president of he is the president of Mr. Roland. I sorry for that. Let me give you a floor and let you introduce yourself. Sorry, I forgot the name of the NGO, but Roland Roberts is a very top level politician from the US. The Center for Diplomacy.
That's right, the U.S. Center for Diplomacy. Thank you, Badan. Thank you, everyone. It is great to be with you today. This is a unique moment in all of human history. And there are two great struggles for all mankind through the ages of time. Number one is always the search for truth. And the second is the struggle for freedom. And we are gathered today to voice support and to stand with actual action and counsel on how to best engage in this struggle for freedom. It has been in the hearts of humanity ever since the first creation to be a free man and self-governed. Yet it is also true that there has always been, since the dawn of time, those that seek to enslave, those that want to conquer, and then those who, even in established forms of government, do not govern well. And so I appreciate the opening remarks that highly emphasized good governance and being prepared with the right foundations of government. It is not enough to desire freedom. It is what is the aftermath. In fact, the world has many examples of nations that were successfully liberated themselves through years and decades of struggle, only to fall into a different trap and even sometimes even a worse humanitarian issue. One not where they were controlled, but where there was no cohesiveness, there was no vision, because everyone rallies around that vision of unity, which is required for victory. But once you no longer have that common enemy, how do you keep people inspired? How do you keep people motivated? How do you self-govern and self-regulate at that time? And so that is what my encouragement is that is a high focus, and we are here to support in those matters. I can tell you that, as the opening remarks, that there's always, every government has to decide between where they are on the scale between total freedom and total control. And the closer you move to total freedom, the greater the prosperity of that nation. In every case in the world today, the closer they are and move towards freedom, the more prosperous their nations are. But that also means the less control government has over the lives of individual citizens. And that's where the struggle becomes, because man sometimes wants to dominate. And so we want to make sure that is what is focused on. Freedom is messy, as you see even for the fight for independence, as Ukraine has seen. Freedom can be very messy. It requires a baseline of morality. It requires a baseline of right and wrong. And it requires self-control and self-governance. That's why the U.S., it can look very messy because people have a semblance of freedom. But I would also say that freedom is usually measured by what you can do. And the better metric of a standard of freedom is you know how free you are by what you cannot do. For example, what you cannot say. If you are not allowed to criticize or to point out the errors of an administration or a regime, then that's where the level of freedom ends. It's not so much, oh, you can go to this store and this shopping mall and this restaurant, whichever one you want. That's not criticize. It is what you cannot do, not what you can do. And so the closer a nation gets to total control, the less innovation, the less civilizational advancements you will have, and the more you will struggle in today's global economic and structural world. The balance of power in the world is shifting. As you see even in Davos this week, and the events of the last few months, the balance of power in the world is shifting. There are different alliances, there are new alliances, there are new organizations and entities that will be a part of our lives going forward. They will be a part of your children's lives. And the problem is sometimes we only govern from the world we have all known and grown up in for the last 50 or 80 years, however old we are, to our real leader. Are those who understand where we are, but govern to where we are today and where we will be, not where we were yesterday. And so my encouragement is to be selfless, be a statesman, do what is right for right's sake, not just for personal gain or for personal power. It is about doing what is right. Heaven and earth will pass away, but we are here to be good stewards of the land that we reside in and our resources and the citizenry that God has put all of us in charge to lead. And may we be diligent with that responsibility. So I want to thank Free Nation. Bodan, thank you. And to our partners in Iran, stand fast and hold the line. You know you've had U.S. support, and you know it is not going away. And we pray for a very quick and speedy resolve to the liberation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roland. I really appreciate that you joined this meeting and you show to the whole world that you are supporting this event and this idea. And let me move on. Let me represent the Member of Parliament, the permanent representative to PACE, Mr. Yuri Kamilchuk.
Thank you, Bogdan. Thank you for meeting with me today. And thank you for your courage and perseverance. I recognize that behind your words there is a real personal cost, pressure, repression, and years of struggle. Ukraine understands very well what it means to live under an imperial system that denies people their identity, restricts freedom, and uses fear as a tool of control. That is why we will listen carefully to those who defend human dignity and fundamental rights. I want to be clear, my approach is based on international law and universal principles like human rights, protection of cultural and linguistic identity, political freedoms, and accountability for repression. No society can be stable if it relies on violence, discrimination, and the silencing of communities. Iran is a diverse country, and many communities have experienced systemic pressure and injustice. Respect for diversity is not a threat to a state, it is a foundation of peace and long-term stability. Today, I'm here to hear your priorities and to better understand your needs. I also encourage you to share structured, evidence-based information, documented cases of persecution, discrimination, forced assimilation, political imprisonment, and targeted violence. Clear facts and verified materials help ensure that the international community responds not only with sympathy, but with concrete decisions. I believe in principled international solidarity. When the world stays silent, abuses regimes grow bolder. When the world speaks the language of rights and accountability, people gain hope and space to breathe. Thank you again for your trust, and I'm ready to stay in contact and to explore practical steps through parliamentary and international mechanisms, including advocacy, public diplomacy, and targeted accountability measures. Your voice matters, and your struggle deserves to be heard with seriousness and respect. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Yuri, for joining us today, and thank you for your speech. I really appreciate that. I'm sure it's crucial for the people who are today with us and who are seeking to be independent and who are struggling for that independence. Thank you. Let me represent our UK friend, very high level and business person, and also in political circle, Mr. Gary McGill. Gary McGill, please. Mr. Gary?
Sorry, I was trying to find the unmute button. It was a pleasure to meet everyone, and I appreciate the invitation to this conference meeting. We are currently living in a world that's completely uncertain. What's happening today, certainly in my lifetime, I would never have dreamt occurring. When the Cold War ended, everyone assumed, at least from my perspective, that we were going to live in a better world. And since the Ukraine war started, nearly 4 years ago now, it's back to the Cold War mentality where anything can happen. So with the Ukraine, first of all, you have my sympathies, and I've been to your country, and I've been over there to help with funding on humanitarian causes. The situation in Iran is worrying. The protests, the mass executions, quite frankly, goes against everything that we are aware of as political scientists in terms of the social contract. The state is not really protecting the people. the general will of the people, if you look at Rousseau, is not being respected, and the country is being administered in a way that is worrying in terms of personal liberties and freedoms. And because of the situation over there, and I am very sympathetic with the people that are suffering with the regime, that we can find a peaceful way of resolving the situation so that personal freedoms and liberties can be respected. I'm not really sure what else to add, Bodan, but sorry, you're on mute.
Yeah. Sorry, please repeat.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else to add. My apologies.
Thank you, Gary. We really appreciate you participating in this event. It's crucial, to see the international support, and especially from UK. It's necessary, to show our friends who are enslaved, who represent the enslaved nations, that international community is supporting them, and they are not alone. And especially we have a voice of you who are translating this event for, as I'm not mistaken, for 12,000 people right now. Let me continue. Let me give a floor to Mr. Pukarim, who represents Kurdish people, independent movement of Kurdistan. Mr. Pukarim, can you hear us? Он не слышит. Не слышит? Нет. А это точно он? Это Мухим. Сахуш. Это он? Нет, это Pukarim. Mr. Pukarim, I see you are with us. Can you hear us? Okay. Let me continue. Mr. Arif, I see you are with us, and you represent the Ahwas nation. And please represent yourself, and please take a floor. Please, you are on mute. Turn on the microphone. Mr. Arif?
Yeah. Hello, my friend. I can speak.
You can speak, okay.
Thank you very much. Dear friend, first of all, on behalf of the Pearl Ahwazi, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference, especially the Free Nation organization and its staff. I will speak in Arab, French, or Persian, as I am not fluent in English. I'm sorry.
If you want, you can speak in Arabic.
Arabic or French. Thank you, Arabic. تحية لأصدقائنا في منظمة فري ناشونال وضيوفنا الكرام من الدول التي شاركنا أهمها في إيران. الدول صاحبة الرأي الديمقراطي، الدول صاحبة القرار الأساسي، الدول الحاملة لحقوق الإنسان في المنطقة ولا سيما في منطقتنا. فاسمحوا لي أتكلم قليلا عن الأحواز وما أدراك في الأحواز. فهي منطقة عربية مطلة على الخليج العربي، مساحتها 385 كيلومتر مربع، شعبها يتجاوز 15 مليون نسمة، وتاريخيا هي كانت جزء لا يتجزأ من الأمن والسلم الدولي والإقليمي، ولكن في عام 1925 تم احتلالها من قبل إيران، يعني رضا الشاه الأول الإيراني، ودخلنا في متاهات وخلط الأغراض في المنطقة، وبالتالي أدت بنا الأمور كما نحن عليها الآن. النقطة الأساسية حقيقة من انشاء إيران ابتدأ بسياسة التفريس والقمع ونهب الثروات الأهوازية من غاز وبترول ومياه وكل ما يرمز للإنسانية والبشرية على الأرض، وانتهى في بالنهاية الأمر أن رضا الشاه كان لديه نوعا ما من الأهمية في المنطقة، وسمي آنذاك باسم جندران المنطقة، وبالتالي يعني جرم إجرام يعني قاتل للإنسانية وما يرمز للإنسانية في الأحواز. في ذيك الفترة، في فترة رضا الشاه، يعني الشاه الأول، حاولنا الدفاع عن حقوقنا ونظمنا من أجل الحرية والكرامة، ولكن نحن نتكلم عن قرن من الزمن، وآنذاك لم تكن لا وسائل التواصل الاجتماعي بهذه الطريقة ولا قيم الإنسانية تراعى بهذا الشكل اللي نحن فيه، وأدى بنا الأمر إلى الهجرة ومتابعة نضالنا من أجل الحرية والكرامة خارج البلاد. في زمن ابن يعني محمد رضا الشاه الذي سقطه الخميني، أيضا نحن كنا من الأشداء لنناضل من أجل الحرية والكرامة لإيران بشكل عام وللأهواز بشكل خاص، ولكن للأسف أيضا أدى فينا المطاف إلى مهجر، واستمرينا بنضالنا لكن من دون قطاع سياسي ولا قطاع إعلامي ولا قانوني كما يجب، وبالتالي انتهى بنا الأمر إلى نظام الخميني. في زمن الخميني حينما اجى حاولنا ان نتأقلم مع الوضع في ايران، عسى وان يكون هذا النظام نظاما نوعا ما يراعي حقوقنا، لكن للاسف ارسل لنا ما ارسل لنا من جبروت، ومثل احمد مدني المحافظ اللي ارسل الى الاهواز وعمل مجازر، وهذه المجازر معروفه بالاربعاء السوداء في المحمر. فكل هذه المجازر حقيقه هي بأوامر الخميني حدثت وحلت بشعبنا. لجأ هذا المجرم يسمي أحمد مدني إلى أمريكا، وبقى في أمريكا وتوفى بعدين قبل تقريبا 6 سنوات من الآن توفى في أمريكا. فما أرجى شرحنا استطاع إلى فاضل هي معاناة طويلة، ولا يمكن أن يعني برنامج بهذا النوع نستطيع أن نتكلم عنها بجميع نقاطها، ولكن نختصرها بشكل ملخص. وما نريد من الاستطاعة الحاضرين في هذا المنتدى. أولا نحن ندعى السلام، وما نريد هو أن المنطقة تعمل الأمن والسلام حتى ينعكس على الأمن والسلم القومي الدولي بشكل عام، ولكن الأنظمة الإيرانية المتعاقبة لا تريد حلا هذه الأنظمة بشكل عام داخل منطقتنا. ما يسمى بالشرق الأوسط اليوم هي أنظمة حقيقة لا تنسجم مع الديمقراطية، وبالتالي إيران أحد هذه الأنظمة التي حلت بنا. فنحن من هنا نناشد الأصدقاء الأمريكان والغربيين والأوروبيين، وأيضا لا ننسى نناشد الأخوة الناشطين مثل الناشطين على منظمة فري ناشونال الأوكرانية، أن أنتم عانيتم ما عانيتم من قتل ودمار في بلدكم. يعني وأنا شخصيا زرت كييف 3 مرات وشفت الدمار الهائل التي دفعها الثمن الأوكراني من دون سبب. لا أحد يستطيع أن يقول الشعب الأوكراني هاجم الدولة، ولا أحد يستطيع أن يقول الشعب الأوكراني تدخل شؤون دول أخرى، لكن هانت عليكم يعني غياب المنطقة. وإيران كانت في المقدمة حقيقة حينما أرسلت طائرات مسيرة إلى كييف وقتلت النساء والأطفال والرجال والشيوخ في كييف هي بطائرات إيرانية. فتخيل يا أصدقائي الأفاضل كيف حالنا نحن شعب الأحواز الذي في قبضة اليد إيران. أنتم بينكم وبين إيران 4000 كيلومتر وعملت فيكم ما عملت. تخيلوا ماذا تفعل فينا نحن. فمن هنا احنا نناشد أصدقائنا الأمريكان والأوروبيين الذين حاضرين معنا في هذا الاجتماع أن نحن جزء لا يتجزأ من أي استراتيجية عسى أن تجيب الأمن والسلام للمنطقة. نحن أردنا التحتوي على 85 أكثر من 85% من البترول والغاز الإيراني المسدد الخارجي الذي تستفيد من إيران من أجل دعم الإرهاب في المنطقة، دعم الإرهاب في العالم بشكل عام. والأمريكان والأوروبيين والإسرائيليين بالتحديد يعرفون تماما ما معنى الإرهاب الإيراني. وأيضا نحن لدينا ما يكفي من الأنهار والمناطق التي حقيقة شعبنا ممكن يكون من ضمن الشعوب الأولى بالعالم من حيث الرفاهية، لكن للأسف نحن اليوم أصبحنا شعب يعيش تحت خط الفقر، يعني لا يوجد دخل للمواطن الأحوازي والفقراء. المنظمات وثقت هذه الحالة، منظمات كثيرة وثقت هذه الحالة، لأن الحالة في الأحواز حالة مزرية، بما أن نحن نمتلك طاقة كبيرة من كل شيء. على أي حال أخواننا الأفاضل والأساتذة الكرام، طولنا عليكم كثيرا. أشكر الأخوة في ناشونال والأخوة الأخيرين على هذه الدعوة الكريمة، وإن شاء الله نبقى على تواصل. وأشكركم جزيل الشكر ولكم جزيل الشكر. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, dear Arif. Let me summarize, because, dear colleagues, Mr. Arif sent his speech to the chat. You can take a look, but in 2 words, I would say that the Ahwazi Arab people remain steadfast, committed to preserving their identity, culture, and legitimate rights, while seeking international recognition and support. They continue to struggle for freedom, dignity, justice, and equitable access to the resources of their homeland. And Mr. Arif represents and the leader of Ahwazi nation. And so thank you, Mr. Arif, for joining us. We really support you. Thank you that you are fighting for your freedom. It's really crucial that you are doing. Dear colleagues, let me represent dear... Это не он. Нет, это не он. Это Dear Mr. Muhim Baloch Sarkosh, Secretary General Balochistan, National Solidarity Party. I see you are with us.
Yes. Hello, sir. Hello.
Thank you for taking part for this event. Please represent yourself and.
My name is Muhim Sarkosh Baloch. I'm Chair, General Secretary of the Balochistan National Solidarity Party. I'm located in Sweden, Stockholm. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished representatives of the Free Nation Public Movement, honored guests and friends. At the outset, I would like to express my sincere appreciation on behalf of myself and the Balochistan National Solidarity Party to the Free Nation Public Movement of Ukraine for the kind invitation and for organizing this important international forum. This gathering provides a valuable space for dialogue, exchange of views, and solidarity among oppressed peoples and democratic forces. Today, Ukraine is not only defending its own sovereignty, but also upholding universal principles, human dignity, freedom, and the right of peoples to self-determination. I strongly condemn the acts of violence and aggression carried out by the Russian military under the President of Vladimir Putin. Acts that are enabled and supported by authoritarian regimes, including the Islamic Republic of Iran, North Korea, China, and Pakistan. At the same time, I deeply respect the resilience and determination of the Ukrainian people, the armed forces, and the political leadership in confronting this unequal and imposed war. I sincerely hope that Ukraine will prevail. Distinguished participants, the Baloch people exercised independent political authority for centuries, most notably under the Khanate of Kalat. However, as a result of colonial rivalries in the Middle East and South Asia, our homeland Balochistan was divided. Today it remains under the domination of three highly repressive states, Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, all of these three as terrorist states. My remarks today focus especially on Western Balochistan, which is currently under the control of the Islamic Republic of Iran. For decades, non-Persian nations in Iran have been subjected to systematic discrimination under both the Pahlavi monarchy and the Islamic Republic. These injustices are rooted in long-standing centralized and exclusionary governance policies that deny political, cultural, and economic equality to non-Persian people. The natural, human, and economic resources of our regions have consistently been extracted for the benefit of Central Persian-speaking areas. After more than a century, the outcome of these policies is clear. Structural inequality, chronic underdevelopment, widespread poverty, and deep political and social marginalization. At the same time, the Islamic Republic allocates vast financial resources each year to military expansion, missile program and drone programs, and the establishment of proxy forces across the region. While large segments of its own population are denied basic economic, cultural, and social rights. Successive Persian central government, both monarchic and religious, have failed to address these systematic inequalities. Moreover, strategic resources, ports, and coastlines belonging to the Baloch people have been transferred through long-term agreements, including a 25-year contract with China. In parallel, military cooperation with Russia has expanded, with reported plans to establish military facilities along the historically known Makran coast, Balochistan coast. Ladies and gentlemen, non-Persian nations within Iran have now reached a point where confidence in meaningful reform within the existing political framework has largely disappeared. This assessment is based not only on the nature of the current ruling system, but also on the reality that significant segments of the Persian-centered opposition abroad continue to promote alternative centralist models rather than genuine structural changes. Within this context, figures such as Reza Pahlavi, frequently highlighted in international media, do not enjoy legitimacy or support among non-Persian nations. The historical record of his father and grandfather reflects policies of repression and marginalization toward non-Persian people that closely resemble those of the current regime. As a result, many view such political projects as representing continuity rather than meaningful changes. Consequently, many oppressed nations have concluded that the pursuit of self-determination is the only remaining viable path. For the Baloch people, this right to self-determination is understood as the restoration of natural sovereignty. In this complex but legitimate struggle, international solidarity is indispensable. There is a growing belief that the central interchange and multilateral nature of the Islamic Republic cannot be dismantled solely through internal mechanisms. Support cannot reasonably be expected from authoritarian powers such as Russia and China. Therefore, democratic states, particularly in the West, and led by the United States, are expected to play a principled and responsible role in supporting the aspirations of oppressed peoples and in confronting authoritarian and expansionist regimes. The collapse of the Islamic Republic and the dismantling of its internal colonial structure would not only benefit the oppressed nation within Iran, but would also contribute to regional and international stability and security, aligning with the broader interests of the global community committed to democracy, peace, and respect for international law. Present-day Iran does not function as a democratic multinational state. Rather, it operates as a centralized system governing diverse nations with unequal rights. A just and sustainable future future can only be achieved when these nations, including Balochistan, Kurdistan, Azerbaijan, Arabistan, Lorestan, Gilan, Turkmenistan, and Farsistan, are freely allowed to determine their own political future. In closing, I once again extend my sincere gratitude to the Free Nation Public Movement, to the people of Ukraine, and to all participants in this conference. Our shared objective is to oppose authoritarian and dictatorships around the world, and to uphold freedom, human dignity, and the fundamental right of peoples to self-determination. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you,
Muhim
Jim.
Baluch Sarkosh.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your speech. Thank you that you are taking part in this conference. I really appreciate that, and I wish you to be strong and not to give up on the way to independence. Dear colleagues, let me go on, and I cannot see. It was him. But he left. He left. Okay, let me go on. I see in our chat Mr. Faiz, Baluch cabinet member of Free Baluchistan Movement. Mr. Faiz, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you to the Free Nation Public Movement Ukraine for the honor and invitation to speak here today. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to share the voice, the history, and the ongoing struggle of the Baloch nation. Balochistan is an ancient land and a nation divided by force. Today, Balochistan is split into three parts, not by the will of the people, but by colonial borders and imperial ambitions and continued occupation. Despite the division, the Baloch nation has never surrendered its identity, its sovereignty, or its right to claim freedom. Resistance has been a constant thread in our history, passed from generations to generations. The struggle of Balochistan's freedom has been long and arduous. Our people have faced displacement, enforced disappearances, military operations, executions, and systematic repression. Yet, with each passing day, month, year, and decade, our resolve to be free from the occupation of Pakistan and Iran has only grown stronger. the occupation of occupying states has not broken us, it has strengthened our determination. The Persian onslaught against the Baloch dates back at least to the 18th century, particularly during the era of Qajar dynasty. This legacy of repression continued under the Pahlavi regime and persists today under the Islamic Republic of Iran. Persian Reza Shah Pahlavi, the son of Muhammad Reza Shah, now trying to present himself as the future ruler of Iran, despite the fact that his family rule was marked by severe atrocities against non-Persian and occupied nations. Even in exile, his supporters continue to demonstrate intolerance toward Baloch, Kurd, and other occupied nations, refusing to acknowledge our struggle for dignity, justice, and freedom. Dear friends, history cannot be erased. In 1970, Pakistan's war against Baloch, the Shah of Iran actively supported Pakistan military. When Pakistan was facing serious setbacks at the hands of Baloch freedom fighters. The Shah supplied helicopters flown by Iranian pilots, which were used to bombard Baloch villages. These attacks deliberately targeted civilian areas, resulted in killing innocent women, children, and the elderly. Today, Iran continues to play a destructive and violent role in Iranian-occupied Balochistan. The Iranian state supplied drones to Pakistan that are being used against unarmed civilians. Open resource information also confirmed that Iranian drones are being deployed in other conflicts, including in the war in Ukraine. The Iranian-occupied Balochistan, both in Shah and the subsequent clerical establishment, have executed thousands of Baloch on fabricated charges. Victims are routinely tried in so-called kangaroo courts that function as kangaroo tribunals, where the outcomes are predetermined and defendants are denied legal representation and even most basic standards of due process. The Iranian officially acknowledged and international human rights organization acknowledged that the Baloch are the most persecuted people in Iran. Subsequently, in 2002, there were 22% of the Baloch executed, hanged publicly in Iran, and in 2023 there was 30%. In 2024, 100 Baloch were executed, and 2025, more than 100 Baloch individuals were hanged, executed by the Iranian states. However, according to Baloch sources, the true scale of execution is far higher. Every year, more than 1,000 Baloch are hanged. Since the Mullah regime took power, Baloch sources estimate that over 30,000 Baloch have been executed. Beyond these hangings, more people have been shot and killed, and also killed by the landmines laid by the Iranian forces on the artificial border, which we call the Goldsmith Line. Another grim reality about occupied Balochistan is that Iran and Pakistan state are erecting a 2,100 kilometer fence. It's basically a wall with barbed wires along the border, physically to separate the Baloch family who lived together for centuries on both sides of the border. Here I am not mentioning the wall which was built on Pashtun land dividing the Pashtun nation as well. It is likely one of the longest walls in the world being constructed to divide a single nation. The Baloch have also endured repeated massacre. Iranian state media confirmed that more than 3,000 protesters were killed across Iran. This is the Iranian media. The international media says there are more than 12,000 were killed just in 17 days. In the latest waves of violence in Iran. Yet, in Balochistan, during the infamous Bloody Friday massacre in Zahedan in 22, in the year 2022, the Iranian forces killed more than 130 and injured hundreds of other Baloch just in 15 minutes. Similar killings followed in Khash city of Balochistan as well. These crimes also alone reveal the true nature of occupying Iranian state policy toward the Baloch nation. Alongside the killings and execution, Iran has systematically kept Balochistan underdeveloped, impoverished. The Baloch people have deliberately been deprived of access to education, healthcare, and basic infrastructure. Hospitals and schools are scarce. Entire regions are left without essential service. This is part of a calculated policy to weaken, marginalize and control the occupied people. Today, Iran remains engaged in violence operations across Balochistan, including the routine killing of impoverished fuel traders and targeting anyone who dares to speak out against the state injustices and oppression. Let me be absolutely clear. We will not accept the Iranian occupation. We will never be Iranian, and the Baloch prefer death over being labeled as Iranian. We Baloch are...
Yeah, please summarize.
Okay, I'll just summarize that. I believe the people living under the occupation understands this reality better than anyone else. The people of Ukraine, for example, know the ugly face of the war. They know what it means to resist aggression and to survive under constant threat and to defend their homeland against powerful invaders. Their courage reflects universal truth. Where freedom is threatened, resistance becomes a necessity, not a choice. In the end, I want to share a truth which is deeply rooted in Baloch values. Once the Baloch commit friendship, we do not abandon our friends in time of hardship. Loyalty is not a slogan; it is one of our codes. It's one of the codes of Baloch they live by. For this reason, oppressed and occupied nations must stand firmly by one another, side by side, must never abandon each other to be preyed by foreign invaders. Our survival, our resistance, and our eventual freedom depends on unity, solidarity, unwavering commitment to our struggle for national liberation. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, dear Faris. Thank you for your speech. Let me also give a floor to Mr. Pulkarim, the leader of the Kurdish independence movement. Mr. Pulkarim, please turn on the audio, the microphone, and your microphone is off. Please turn on the microphone.
Hello.
Rožbaş.
Peyamemin amadeyemin peyami xopyeşkeştikemu hizmeti vedamı.
Fermi.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed representatives, distinguished human rights activists and dear friends present here at this conference, allow me to begin my remarks by expressing clear and swift solidarity with the people of Ukraine. Today, Ukraine stands on the front line of defending freedom, democracy, and national sovereignty in Europe. Ukraine's experience reminds the world that lasting peace cannot be built on occupation. Sustainable democracy cannot be maintained through force and domination. And true security is not the result of deals with occupiers. Rather, it is the outcome of ending occupation, respecting international law, and guaranteeing nations' right to self-determination. And it is precisely here that we arrive at the issue that we must speak transparently about the facts. It is a double standard if occupation is unacceptable in Europe but not in the Middle East. We should not accept that if defending national sovereignty is legitimate in one region, it is not in others. We must consider it equally legitimate. Double standards not only undermine justice, rather, they contribute to the emergence of new crises. Because their practical message is that rights depend on geography and law depends on interests. Lasting peace is only possible when a single